And we are live for the First Strike podcast, brought to you by the folks at facegames.com, the number one place to get your Magic the Gathering singles. Right now, the weekly sale is 15% off all Commander set cards, a deal that I guess Brian won't be needing. But for those of you who want to play Commander, 50% off. Go check it out at facegames.com tonight. Special cast, and I say that every week, but every week we manage to find some awesome guests. And not only do we have my awesome mate Derek on, we got Brian, special guest Brian from the Game Podcast, and we got Edgar, the hottest Canadian in many different ways in Magic right now, back on the show after the Toronto Open Plus win. Before we continue the show, also want to plug the Ottawa Open that's coming out this Saturday. So for all of you that are into Modern in the surrounding areas of Ottawa, definitely check it out. Go to ftfseries.facegames.com or go to the main page. You'll be able to find info on that and how to register on the right side. So we're going to lots to talk about. We're going to talk about Amu-LIT with Edgar and touch on Standard, everything else. But of course, this week's hot topic is cheating in Magic. And I feel like I'm in the same position as Derek was with the Matthew Folks thing. I happen to be, or was a fairly good friend of Dan Lantier, the person in question, and it's kind of awkward for me to do this hard. And same with Brian. Brian with Jared Betcher, worked with him on the PT. So for this to happen, it feels really awkward for me. But for those of you who aren't in the know, there was a Twitch video clip that was circulating, basically a local tournament that Dan was playing at. He was playing against his opponent. He was playing Dredge. And when he cracked the fetch land, he went to grab his deck, but he also, while the opponent turned his head a bit, grabbed a Stomping Ground from his graveyard, put it back in his deck, and fetched the Stomping Ground, effectively mixed the Stomping Ground back into the deck and put it into play. So he had milled. Okay, I'll have to fix the YouTube link, but he had milled the two Stomping Grounds previously and attempted to put one of the ones milled back into play. And this started a huge stir online. And his quick defense, he made a public statement. It was really late. He either stayed awake really late because of all the... He likely either stayed up late or he got up really early, because I think it was roughly 4 a.m. where he made a public statement on either Twitter or Facebook saying that he was trying to correct the game state, that the video looks worse than it actually was, and that he didn't really say this, but he's basically implying that a wrong number of cards were dredged beforehand, and he had tried to fix the game state because the Stomping Ground was not supposed to be dredged. So he's like fixing it by putting it back in his deck. And then people were like, well, it makes sense if you have more than two Stomping Grounds in your deck, in which case he said he had 3, but then a lot of investigations were done, some done by Edgar to show that he didn't, and he had 2 Stomping Grounds and likely 3 errant messes, was it, Edgar? But Edgar, I'll let you take it away. What was your investigation?
Yeah, well, Dan made his defense was that he was trying to correct the game state and that it wasn't that big of a deal because it wasn't going to affect the outcome of the match, which is a defense I have issue with to start with. But after seeing that on his Facebook wall, I knew for a fact that most dredge lists only had 2 Stomping Grounds, so I thought that was a little bit suspect. And Dan conveniently posted what he said was his deck list for the event, which was a list. It was just a picture of a deck list that had 3 Stomping Grounds and a bunch of other lands. And I decided to take it upon myself to look at the video, something that I was doing anyways, just to see the action. And I cross-referenced, since the dredge deck shows so much of its deck in a match, like almost its entire deck sometimes, I decided that there might be a chance that there would be all 3 Stomping Grounds in the graveyard at one point. And I wanted to see if that was the case. And while doing that and cross-referencing with the deck list he posted, I saw that there was at one point 3 Arid Mazes in his graveyard, which was different than the list he posted. and that alone is just the smoking gun in the whole thing. It's a huge red flag that even if his intention was not to cheat, if his intention is to lie about it afterwards, what does that say about the whole situation? And in my opinion, that's almost just as bad.
I think we're gonna pause the show, I guess, for a bit. Let's.
I think YouTube's just down.
Yeah. So
I would probably honestly just start over. I don't think there's anything here. I would probably give it like 5 or 10. It seems like it's coming back up. I clicked on the link from the Twitter post and it worked this time. So maybe it's like
it was like a YouTube thing.
Yeah, I think it's all of YouTube.
Yeah, it's all of YouTube. If I'm going to Twitter, it's like everyone's like, did YouTube just crash? So I don't know if. Yeah, we're gonna give it like 5 minutes to see what's going on.
Yeah,
convenient timing.
Yeah, I would post something on Twitter, KYT, just letting people know that you got whammied. Because already like 5 people have messaged me, why isn't YouTube working?
Wow, you're popular. Nobody's messaged me.
They just want me to say something stupid so they can make fun of me. That's all.
Yeah, at least you have to get people to nag you to say something stupid. I usually just do it for free.
That's true. It's a valuable brand.
Yeah.
You should work on that, Ginger.
Sure, work on being better at it, or work on not saying dumb stuff.
Column A, column B.
Nice.
Brian, you going to GP New Jersey? I assume you are. So
Yeah.
It's like around the corner for you, right?
No, I live in Seattle. It's
about, right, you moved, yeah.
It's about as far away as I can possibly get from a GP.
It used to be around the corner, right?
Right, but I'm going up to visit family afterwards.
Okay.
So I don't mind making the trip.
Edgar, do you know anybody who has space in their car?
I do not. No. Sorry. I'll let you know. I'm going with some Waterloo guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know who, but
because I talked to Shantz and like Taylor and the guys from KW, and they said their car's full, and then our ride couldn't get it off work in time, and yeah, I don't know. I just really want to go to this GP because I feel like I can win it, but eat.
Same.
Portions of this are still going to YouTube. Occasionally.
Yeah, it's really weird. They might have gotten attacked or something.
The link's still not working for me.
Ginger, you just like black green?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
Doom Whisperers or no Doom Whisperers?
I'm not on Doom Whisperers right now, but I'm not on Doom Whisperers.
Yeah.
It just like cleanly dies to everything.
Right.
Really bad in the mirror, right?
Sorry?
It's really bad in the mirror.
Not always. There was the deck that won the PTQ seemed to just like play Doom Whisperer on 4 or 5 with Llanowar Elf, and then just mill most of their library and then play Azani and say deal with it. And there's a lot of decks that are current. Sorry?
A lot of decks that can't.
A lot of decks that can't beat it game 1, and a lot of decks that weren't expecting to have to beat that at all. And so when you have a bunch of chupacabras killing it, and then you're just like, okay, I'm going to go to 5 or whatever, Azani you. And they go, okay, I have to find finality. And you're like, okay, by the way, I still have a fine broker in my hand. Or I still have a Memorial to Folly in play or whatever, right? And they're like, oh, like, guess I just can't beat that. And then when they're doing that, when they have 4 in their deck and they're just doing that, it's like, that's a pretty good game plan. So I think like the best way to like beat that is to beat the Azani plan, but I haven't figured out a good way to beat the Azani plan yet. So
the winning list had no Memorials for what it's worth.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought they did, but
no, that was like my week 0 plan was just like 4 Doom Whisperers, and I had like 3 Azani, and I'm like, nobody can beat this. Just do it, and it's good enough. And it was. Things evolved a little bit where I was less sure of it, but
yeah, I just think like Doom Whisperer by itself, like Edgar said, is really bad in the mirror. And then it's like a creature that has to resolve that even if they kill it, doesn't always have impact on the game. And like when you're playing a black-green deck, when you're trying to grind through your opponent's deck, like the actual life after a while is like a pretty big liability. So
closing speed matters a lot too, though. Like just being able to close the game in 3 turns when you have control of it is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, when I lost to it, I was pretty blown away at how quickly it happened. It's like, oh, I'm dead. Could I have played around this?
Eric, what happens if could you Twitch us in or no on your channel or something?
Let me.
Would the sound come out?
Yeah, I could audio like you could just play through audio.
We're live right now.
Temporarily, are we? Are we back live?
We keep popping on and off, I think.
This video is unavailable.
Yeah, I had like 2 seconds of us and then it disappeared.
Oh yeah, it's gone for me again.
Let me see if this works real quick. I've never done a full video hangouts before. No, it won't let me. I don't know if you can see this. You probably can't. For some reason, Google Links, I have to like sign in through the link, and I don't know how to do that. Like it makes no sense. Let me see if I can just screen capture it.
What a day. Someone just mentions me, dude, Dan took down YouTube to stop the truth from getting out. What the fuck? This is the sickest timing ever. Man, YouTube's actually down completely. It's just like fucked up. Wow.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't go down very often.
And if it does not, it just like comes back up.
Right.
Which oh no, there's only one game right now. So
yeah. Yeah, it's the Celtics. Whoa, what happened?
I feel like Midnight Reaper is pretty underplayed.
Yeah, Reaper's good.
I also think Reaper is good. The biggest issue with Reaper is that people are learning to play around it, but they don't always have the option to do so.
Yeah, I think you just have to take that. You commit to taking away that option from them.
Yeah.
And like you probably have to. I think you have to play like Glow Spore Shaman or something that's pressuring in the 2-drop slot, or maybe Harpooner is also fine. But if you're pressuring out of the 2-drop slot, then you can leverage Midnight Reaper pretty hard.
What did you say, Edgar?
How do you play around it?
You invalidate it as like a card that does something. So like either you kill your opponent, or you just like don't trade off creatures, or you Wrath to Contempt it.
Reaper's a zombie, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a zombie knight.
Oh, I guess it is. You were right. I can't read.
So zombie lord.
Death Baron, but it sucks. Knights are the way you want to go with Reaper. You can actually do cool stuff with it.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Like I had a list that was mono white knights splashing Reaper, Vona, and Fine Finality.
Okay.
And it was really good, and the mana works because you get access to unclaimed territory. But you also play Benelish Marshal, so you have access to triple white, even though you're playing these like weirdo cards.
Triple white, double black. Nice.
Yeah. Well, you have green too. That's the wrinkle. So you get to do like Temple Garden stuff, and then your finds become castable. Find is awesome.
Yeah, that card's very, 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 very good.
Up, but I don't.
Okay, so I think I can run it through my OBS. Like everything's showing up fine. If you want to do that, or I can show you how to do it on yours also if you want to do that. Like if you have a Twitch channel, I don't know if you do.
I do, but I'd rather do it on yours. You actually have at least some amount of viewers.
Yeah.
You're getting feedback right now.
I'm getting feedback.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's from.
That's sound? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like the hum. Do you hear the hum?
Yeah, I hear the hum.
Is that me?
It might be on KYT's side, actually.
Yeah, I think it's me. Actually, let me turn. I think there's some random humming in my room.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
is it me?
it's KYT. It's KYT.
Okay.
What do you think Black Green's worst matchup is as it stands right now?
The thing about the black green deck is I don't know if there is a worse matchup.
Right, it's just a 50% deck.
Yeah, 55. Like I think well, it really depends on the build, which is like this is a lot of people have been asking me this. Like, what do you think a bad matchup for black green is? And every time I say there's 5 or 6 different builds, and then each build has its own like good points and bad points, and then at the end of the day, I think black green has the best tools to beat the format. And I think if you're trying to win, you should be playing black-green unless you're really trying to attack the meta a certain way. And I think black-green just does that the most efficient way. I've had trouble with the Arclight Phoenix deck.
Right.
And then I've
garbage.
had...
That's garbage.
Yeah, they just always seem to nut drop me. I'll like kill a Phoenix, and they'll untap, discard a Phoenix, deal me 9, and I'm like, well, I just can't win. So that's happened twice. It's really annoying.
I kept losing to the Browbeat deck playing like black green mid range decks.
Yeah, that deck's actually an issue if you don't have Wild Growth Walker in your 75.
Yeah, I didn't have it.
Yeah. When I was playing Wild Growth Walker in the main, I was destroying it. It wasn't close.
You can't lose if you have Wild Growth Walker.
Yeah. I have 1 in the main as a flex spot now and 2 in the board, and it's just something I'm trying out. But
it sucks because I think Walker's like pretty miserable in general.
It's really bad against every deck that's not trying to burn you out, which currently is just the red deck and the Jeskai deck. I actually bring it in against the Jeskai Fireball deck sometimes.
It seems fine there.
The only way they kill
out
you
of Clarion range very quickly, and
yeah, and then they have Teferi and Fireball, and that's how they beat you.
I mean, you're still just gonna lose to like draw 6s sometimes.
Not really. They have like no way to kill you other than that, other than those 2 threats, like in your average list.
Yeah, they just Teferi you.
They just Teferi you.
Yeah.
I mean, on Moto it works because they time out, but you probably have to find an alternate win. Like you can just play more Plague Crafters, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest issue is beating the mirror and beating like I can beat like 2 of the 3 mirrors, but not all 4 or all 3, whatever. Like it's difficult to like I can beat Nizani, but I can't beat a Planeswalker heavy version, whatever. Or I can beat like the Planeswalker heavy version, but I can't beat the Nizani version, right? Or like some people bring in Vine Mares randomly sometimes, and that gets you. Or sometimes people have 2 Carnage Tyrants or 3 Carnage Tyrants, and I took out all my sacrifice effects because I'm worried about Azani. And it's like, yeah.
Is there more humming?
No.
No, I don't hear it. The answer might be like Phyrexian Scriptures.
I had 2 of those in my sideboard in the PTQ.
Cards are good against every version.
The problem is it's really bad against every good card in the deck.
Yeah, it just gets picked off by so many things, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to set up well.
And you get tempoed out.
Yeah. So like the times where it's good, it's really good. Most times it's bad.
I could buy that.
Yeah,
Ginger, they save, right? Your broadcast?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think YouTube's coming back anytime soon.
Okay, so we want to fire it up on my thing then?
Yeah.
All right, give me like 2 minutes then, and we're good? You can like do your tweeting stuff?
I will do my tweeting now. You're gonna have to change the title of your video.
Beggar, how do you spell your last name?
Maghalhes.
Okay, again?
Magaes.
Yep.
LHAES.
LHAES.
Yeah.
Brian, how do you spell your last name?
GOTTLIEB.
And I'm just gonna put NKYT. All right.
Does this mean I have to sub to Misplaced Country?
No. All right. I'm still gonna like mute myself, and I think the audio should just run through my computer. Good.
Good. And we are live for the First Strike podcast on a special channel due to YouTube being down, but we're still brought to you by the good folks at FaceFaceGames.com, the #1 place to get your Magic the Gathering singles. Right now, there's a weekly special deal, 15% off any Commander single from any of the Commander sets have been put out over the years, and there's been a couple of them, so definitely check that out. For this episode, it's a really special episode because we got a lot of hot topics, and we got a very special crew. We got Derek Pite, my good castmate. We also got Edgar, the hottest Canadian Magic player, maybe not just Canadian, but hottest Magic player of the year, in my opinion. Just keeps popping up. And we got Brian, special returning guest, Brian Gottlieb, the handsome man himself, and we see his face this time from the Game Podcast. Really excited to have these three on. How's it going, gentlemen? How's it going, Brian? With some basketball in the background.
Everything's fantastic, KYT. Even though my newly adopted team of the 76ers are currently losing, maybe I'll redo my basketball alignment after tonight because they have looked underwhelming. But yeah, I had to get a new team since I left New York, and I really had no desire to take the Knicks or the Nets with me, as they are not particularly impressive NBA franchises. So I was signing up for the Sixers, and now I'm reconsidering after tonight.
All right, some tweeps have tried to convince you as an adopted Canadian to take up the Raptors. I suggest you do the same. The Raptors are a pretty exciting team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the Raptors. I got to see them live a bunch in Brooklyn, and I was pretty into the team. So maybe we'll see how the season plays out. My services are still up for grabs. I'll say that.
So good to hear. Edgar, again, fresh off another win. I'm going to use this moment to plug the Ottawa Open, FaceFaceGames.com. Tournament series goes to Ottawa this Saturday for everyone in the surrounding regions. Some people are driving down from Montreal. Definitely check that out. Go to FaceFaceGames.com or F2FSeries.FaceFaceGames.com. Edgar, how's it going tonight?
It's going well. Glad to be back on the show so soon.
It's like I predicted every time, and happy that the predictions keep being right. Derek, how's it going, my man?
Things are good. I'm still trying to get a hold of this this OBS stream through Google Hangouts thing and trying not to get echo. And I found out that I misspelled Brian's name. I can't spell or read. I'd like the record to know that I misspelled, or I asked everybody how to spell their last name, but not their first name for some reason. But other than that, things are good. Can't complain, you know.
If there's any echo, hope people in chat can answer. And shout outs to Jonathan from the Head Game Podcast, who I mixed up, unfortunately, with someone else. Apologies once again on a previous show. Let's get down to the hot topic. This is a tough little subject for me, and that's why I'm glad to have the three of you on, three of you with strong opinions. Very strong opinions on this. It's awkward for me because the person in question was, I guess, not a super close friend of mine, but someone that I grew up knowing since I started Mana Deprived, was a supporter from day one, and someone I consider a friend. And like Derek with Matthew Folks, like Brian with Jerry Betcher, it's an awkward situation when someone you considered a friend is the person at the center of all this. And for those of you who haven't caught up to the news, Dan Lantier, a two-time GP champion, was caught cheating on camera at a local Ottawa event at the Wizards Tower. He was playing in a modern event, playing Dredge, and The cheat was he had 2 stomping grounds in his graveyard, and he cracked the fetch, which I believe was a wooded foothills. And while the opponent was sort of turned to mark out the life loss from the fetch land, Dan quickly, it looked too smooth, picked one of the stomping grounds from the graveyard, put it back in his deck, mixed it in, and searched for the stomping ground. So he's presumably he's trying to fetch a stomping ground, and there's no more in the deck. So in order to do so, he brought it back from the yard, and people saw the cheat, and there was an uproar. And then at 4 a.m., I feel roughly 4 to 5 a.m. is when Dan made a Twitter statement and Facebook statement. I feel like he likely stayed up all night thinking about this, or he just woke up really early, and he explained that he was trying to correct a game state. He didn't really put in exact words, but I think everyone's assuming he's implying that he dredged too many cards at some point. So the stomping grounds should not have been dredged, should have been in the deck. So he's just correcting it by himself without a judge and searching for a stomping ground that would have been in his deck in the first place. And then he also stated and posted a deck list showing that there were 3 stomping grounds in the deck anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But a lot of investigations have been done, whether it be by Edgar over here or Jeff Cunningham even chimed in to search through the old videos and the other matches and to find that he likely did only have 2 stomping grounds. Edgar, I'd let you take it away from here.
Yeah, so basically the crux of his counter argument was that since he was just trying to correct the game state and not trying to cheat, he wasn't necessarily gaining any advantage because he had a 3rd stomping ground in his deck to fetch anyways. And he posted on his Facebook wall a picture of his deck that he said he used during the tournament, which included 3 stomping grounds and some other lands, 4 offline gorge, etc., and claimed that that was the mana base he used during the tournament. Myself and Jeff Cunningham actually did this separately and arrived at the same conclusion. Went and watched the VODs from the Twitch channel, and I kind of just watched the VODs in slow motion, paying attention to all the dredges. We saw such a high percentage of his deck during the match because he's playing dredge, and was just cross-referencing what his deck list that he posted on his Facebook wall. And at one point, I found the smoking gun, which was just that he had 3 arid maces in his graveyard, even though the picture he posted on his Facebook wall only had 2 arid maces. And what that says is that if he's willing to lie about that deck list, he's likely doing it to cover up some other thing, some other malicious intent, and that is just the absolute red flag for the entire situation.
Right. You broke. Can you repeat the last part? You actually broke up for me. Last sentence.
Yeah, I was just saying that if Dan was willing to lie about the fact that he had 2 stomping grounds in his deck, and the fact that he had 3 arid maces and the picture of his deck list only showed 2, it just means that he had some sort of malicious intent surrounding the whole situation, and that's just a huge red flag when he's trying to prove his innocence in the whole cheating aspect.
What if he? I wonder. Does it change anything if he didn't say that? If he didn't post the list? If he only posts the list as 2 stomping grounds to you, Edgar?
I mean, it changes something. It makes it less easy to cross-reference and to really know for sure. Because at no point do you ever see his entire deck. So like maybe you can give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you can say it's 9 in the morning and he was tired. But the fact that we know for a fact that there was basically no chance there was 3 stomping grounds in his deck, and that he was lying about that fact just creates an entire new narrative where he's trying to be malicious about this. He's trying to take advantage of the situation and trying to sugarcoat everything so that people believe otherwise.
And so, again, I forgot to add how awkward this is, because we actually had him on a guest multiple times, and you were on the show, Edgar, and we had talked, we had picked his brain about blue-white control, because he had I believe top 4 SCG recently, and yeah, shocker, Wizards Tower, and the place where he played at, ended up making a statement. On Saturday, I'm just going to read it quickly. On Saturday, October 13th, during the Armada event, Dan was caught manipulating his deck during a match. After the event, the incident was reviewed by the owner and a local level 2 judge, and he was DQ'd from the event. A full report of the incident has been put forward by us to the DCI and WotC of the incident. We also contacted all players involved in matches against Dan Lantier and provided them with the correct prize based on where they would have finished. The behavior and actions exhibited are unacceptable to anyone at the Wizards Tower and will not be tolerated. Wizards Tower always strives and works towards creating a safe and fun environment for all staff and customers in our store. This incident was not representative of this, and we have given a lifetime ban to Dan Lantier from playing any events at our store. We will always work with our community players to provide the safest and best environment for players to play the games that they love. We appreciate all of your support in helping to build our game. Owner and Joey Hoffer, General Manager, Wizards Tower. Brian, my man, what do you think about this? The store stepping up and giving this gentleman a lifetime ban?
Good for them. I mean, this guy should never be allowed to play Magic again. I don't even want to talk about his excuse because it's so flimsy and unfathomable that I don't even want to like give it any credence. It just doesn't check out. It doesn't make any sense. And then when you actually like even just hearing it, not doing any research, I'm like, this is a really stupid excuse. Then when you add Edgar's research on top of it, I give it zero credence whatsoever. And I'm not going to get too much further into that. I just wanted to discuss like people who are doing things like this are fundamentally eroding the fabric of the game and accepting consequences for the rest of their lives. Like if you're ever in this position, if you don't understand what something like this does to your reputation, I mean, look, you Google this guy's name, this will stick with him. And someone like Jared Betcher, who was one of the most savage cheats we've ever seen, that will stick with him. I can't forgive him. We were friends before he was caught cheating. I basically, at the time, there were plenty of accusations around him. I confronted him and he swore to me up and down he was clean. I said, okay, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. If this ever comes out that I'm here supporting you now. If it ever comes out that you are lying to me, we will not be friends anymore. That's what it comes down to. And he was lying. And I have spoken to him like twice since. And I am publicly still telling people not to trust him because he's unrepentant and basically shows no remorse for what he did. I mean, these people. Okay, yes, this is a game. I was going to say this isn't a game. Obviously, Magic is a game, but you're stealing from people. There's no twisting words about it. You are taking money from other people. This is borderline criminal. You are depriving people of the right to enjoy this game. You're making a global climate of suspicion that takes away comfort and joy and ease of play to every single person participating. It's just such an incredibly selfish and unself-aware thing to do that it's almost impossible for someone who does something like this to be redeemed in my eyes. Like, can I get okay with you where I am willing to say hello and, you know, I'm not just outraged by the sight of you? Maybe after a lot of time, but you'll never be my friend again. You're not a trustworthy person when you exhibit traits like this. And I have no reason to go out of my way to support you or really to have any interactions with you. It's just sad. I wish it seems to these people, I think it seems small in the moment. Like, oh, I deserve to beat this person. I shouldn't lose to this person. I'm a GP top 8 competitor. There's no way I would lose to this person. So maybe I'll just fix this one little thing. And I think that's how they justify it. And there's a lot of ego and pride and inability to accept losses. And they feel like they deserve these results. So they're willing to manipulate things in order to achieve them. And it's so much bigger than that. It goes beyond the game you're playing into everyone's enjoyment of the game and to stealing as well. And it's just disappointing. And something has to be done on Wizards' end to disincentivize this, because if you're just looking at straight money value, the incentives are there to cheat. Outside of morality, you'd be foolish not to cheat at Magic because the consequences are so small and the payoffs are large enough. And you're relying on people's own sense of morals to kind of guide them. A lot of people don't have the best sense of morals. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. And you need to put some outside limitations on the system to disincentivize cheating. Otherwise, this will always be a problem. And it's fundamentally impacting everyone's enjoyment of the game. Really problematic.
completely, Brian. I've even sales level and feel really discouraged, as if like, you know, everyone's doing it. A lot of people are doing it, and they feel helpless. And for some of these players, it's the bulk of their livelihood, and it sucks. It sucks. I know like there were some sketchiness surrounding Jared prior to him you know, being caught red-handed. I wasn't sure. I actually never, except for Sammy T, I've never felt like I heard any.
KYT has the worst internet connection. KYT, your internet connection is in shambles right now.
You're coming in and out here.
I'm going to have to fix that up while, I don't know. Derek, give your take while I try to fix the internet.
Okay. So I think there's so many things wrong with this. And first off is like, it's a local store to him. Like, I can't believe that he like did this at a local shop, you know? I think it's great that people are catching him. Like, he didn't do this at a GP. He wasn't caught at a GP. People are like going after him for a local event. They banned him. This is huge. He might get like 18 months. This is really, really sweet. I think that it's good that he got caught, and I'm really happy that a lot of people are putting in a lot of effort to make sure that he's getting sort of like what he deserves, I guess you could say, based on his actions. The one thing that really bothers me about this is, like KYT said, we had Lantier on the show a couple weeks ago. He's won 2 GPs. If he's cheating, who else is cheating? Who else is breaking our trust? You know, like, I thought like Lantier was one of the Canadian Magic players that like I've known Lantier. I've seen Lantier at old school PTQs. He was the like end boss for PTQs, and now it's just like, you know, he's cheating. Like, what do you do about that? It just leaves this like huge piece of doubt in my mind. Like, who's getting away with what at their local events? Who's doing what to succeed? As someone who plays only Moto, you see how sloppy I am the majority of the time, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm not successful. I think like if I cheated a little bit, I'm sure I could have a GP top 8 or 2 under my belt. I don't know, that wouldn't be worth it for me, but I think it's just a thing to think about, that maybe we do need to be harsher on these people who we think are really good players who wouldn't be cheating, who are playing tight. Maybe they are cheating. I don't know.
How's my connection now? Is it better? A little bit?
Can everybody hear me also? Like, is the sound good?
What's going on? Brian, can you hear me?
I can hear you, KYT. Ginger, you sound good on my end. I don't know how it's going out to Twitch.
Okay. People on Twitch just say get new internet, KYT in the chat if I sound terrible. But I was just saying, I'm just gonna repeat what I said while I was roboting. I was surprised that Dan, I was really surprised, because whereas Jared Betcher and Bertoncini always had this aura of sketchiness, I from my perspective, I never heard it from Dan. And it's news to me that someone dug up, tweeted out an old Sammy T Reddit post or something that he alleged Dan Lantier cheat. So that's why I am surprised. I'm not surprised about the people that have, since his banning, felt like he deserved it and are really happy because of the type of behavior he displays while playing sometimes. I think he's worked on it over the years, but yeah, I can totally see why some people are really happy, and he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And it makes me think of PT Origins, where I actually went over to his place to test for it, and we did a test draft at the Wizards Tower with a bunch of the Wizards locals. And I was staying at his place, and after I think I beat him round 1, he like raged, like ripped his deck apart, and then like left the store. And that's why I've always not been surprised that he's someone that just can just emotionally explode at times. But I never heard stories of him being a cheater, and yeah, it's still a shock to me right now.
Emotional intelligence is a constant, and behavior like that, it's not always indicative of like an inability to understand the consequences of cheating. But I'm hearing things that run very similar: inability to accept losses, excuse making, all of these things. The people who have been, called out, caught as cheaters, often they display these symptoms over and over and over. And I just want to say too, you talked about people being happy that he is banned. Well, he's only banned from Wizards Tower, and we have no idea what's going to happen with Wizards of the Coast if he's going to get. I mean, I've heard people say they think he'll get 6 months. If he gets 6 months, that's a goddamn injustice. Like, honestly, that just blows my mind. This is someone who I'm assuming his record is clean and he has nothing else on his history. He's never been suspended before. He hasn't been watched for a long time by whoever is watching people for cheats. If that's the case, I think he should get 4 to 5 years. And if he ever does anything again, he should be gone forever. Now, do I think that's what he's going to get? No, I think he's going to get a year, and I'm going to be really disappointed about it, unless this is the start of a new policy towards cheating. Because I think under past historical treatments, I think it's very reasonable that he gets only a year here.
Actually, Edgar, what do you expect him to get as a penalty, and what would you be happy to see him get?
I think I agree with Brian that if we were to go on past precedents, it's fairly likely that he's going to get a year and a half. Like you, I haven't heard anything about his sketchy past or anything like that, aside from maybe 1 or 2 instances from specific people. And the way they've been doing it seems like they give it a bit of a wash on the first go, which is not something that I necessarily agree with. I would prefer a bit of a harsher punishment. Playing Magic is a privilege after all, and I don't think that these people should be tolerated in any way. And just a year or year and a half even just feels like such a low amount of time for someone who's doing something so damaging to the community. Just the fact that there's so many discussions like the one we're having right now constantly in the Magic community is just, it creates tension during tournaments. It's bad for new players. It's just something that I personally wish didn't exist. And if people who got like significantly long periods of time, like 3, 4, 5 years for first offenses, or even a lifetime banning with like a parole option after a certain amount of time or something like that, like I think that would be a better system, but that's just not something that Wizards has been doing in the past, so I don't really expect it going forward in this instance.
Brian, have you seen any store step it up to a lifetime ban before?
I can't recall any stores really taking a hard line, and I think I'm not 100% sure on this. I won't even say it. I think there's a large tournament organizer that has taken steps to exclude known cheaters from their tournament series. I don't know authoritatively, but I think that's the case. And look, if Wizards isn't going to do it, someone has to, right? And I completely understand why you do not want this person in your store. He is not good for your business. Obviously, entering a store is a privilege, not a right. And I fully support Wizards Tower here. And I mean, maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes a conglomerate of tournament organizers. Maybe Face-to-Face has to step up and say, look, if you're not clean, you're not playing in our tournament series anymore. And is there a risk in making that decision from a business standpoint? Sure. But sometimes you take risks and you let the cards fall where they may. And if it's creating a better environment, a better tournament series, I could see why you could get some large dividends from taking that chance.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. Derek, last take. What do you expect if we can get your audio, me and you audio working good at the same time? What do you think he's going to get, and what would you be happy to see?
I'd be happy with probably 2 years minimum, and I expect him to get 6 months to a year. And I think that's because he's a first-time offender, and I think it's because it was at the level of play. I don't honestly know if that's how they choose to ban people, but I think it's part of it. Like, I think Dan Ward should have got a longer sentence because he was cheating at the PT, but he didn't. And I think if Dan Ward's only getting 6 months for cheating at the PT and lying to a judge, then I wouldn't expect much more than that for Lantier. And I think that's just what it's going to be based on past things that have happened, like literally weeks ago. So,
well, hopefully there is going. I mean, I'm with you guys. I don't see it changes substantially with the recent length of suspensions they've been handing out. So one can only hope. One can only hope. Any last words from you guys on this topic, Brian or Edgar?
Don't cheat. If you do, go away. Hopefully forever.
Get out of my game.
Like that. So let's move on to some happier news. Let's jump into straight to Edgar's win, which I couldn't believe. I'm like, I was like, hey, I'm just rooting for other people or something before. Actually, not really. Like Keith, I was rooting for Keith because he had won the Toronto Open at the CNE. So I'm like, hey, can you run it back? Apparently, allegedly, he was playing some sort of not very good deck according to people. So his odds weren't going to look pretty good. It just seemed like it was consensus that he was not going to win. And man, I don't think in my mind, like, Edgar's going to win again. Like, and if you told me he was playing Amu-LIT Titan again, it's like, wow, like what a beast. What a beast. Edgar, once again, what happened? Did anything happen to turn you back to your original baby, your pet deck, Amu-LIT Titan?
Yeah, it was a combination of a few things. I was talking a lot with Keith actually, and he was trying to sell me on his black-green deck, but I decided to let him try that himself first, and then maybe pick it up afterwards if I thought it was a good choice. But I recently, for a bunch of modern tournaments, I tried some different decks. I played some Blue Eye Control. I played some Banned Spirits at a Star City Open, and nothing was really like picking up my interest. And with the new set coming out, with the addition of Assassin's Trophy into the metagame, and actually the addition of Creeping Chill, Dredge has been on a pretty big rise on Moto, and the Black-Green X strategies have been a little bit on the rise online. But I know from playing a lot in the Toronto area that there are a lot of diehard Black-Green mages in Toronto, and a lot of them have recently dropped the Black-Green strategies, the Death Shadows, the Juns, to play other stuff because the deck just wasn't that good. But I knew with the printing of a new premium Black-Green removal spell that all of them were going to be back on it for this weekend. So I decided to bust out Amu-LIT. It has a good Black-Green matchup. It has a good Dredge matchup, a very fantastic Dredge matchup. And I played against Jun 4 times. I beat humans a couple times and beat Goldfarb in the finals on Burn, and that was it.
A premium. I think someone, a host or something, left it out of their top 5 constructed cards from Guilds of Ravnica. Edgar, what's the impact of guilds so far? Is it just Assassin's Trophy, or we're seeing other cards thrown in the mix?
No, I think the big addition is Creeping Chill, actually. Dredge is showing itself to be a true force in the new metagame. The fact that all of your opponents start at such a lower life total just because of all this incidental drain, it makes your conflagrates better, it makes your blood gas better. It's just so good for the overall game plan of the deck, and I think that people would be foolish to underestimate that deck going forward.
Brian, have you been messing with Modern? I know you talked to me that you wanted to pick Edgar's brain on Dredge.
No, I don't care about Dredge. I have zero interest in Dredge. I've been playing Modern a lot. I have an article coming out on Star City tomorrow about a hot new Modern deck I have discovered. The second such hot new Modern deck. I was playing a lot of Necrotic Ooze previously. I think that card is quite good. I think it got some very substantial new tools in Doom Whisperer, and there is a very good combo build of that deck. Then I discovered a new deck. I don't want to spoil it yet. It is built around a Guilds of Ravnica card that nobody else is playing in Modern. I'll say that. So you can check that out tomorrow. But after I saw Edgar's result, I'm not making this up. I promise you this is true. After I saw Edgar's result, I said, okay, that's it. I'm picking up this deck. And it's not that I haven't played Amu-LIT before. I worked on it years ago. Before it was a known deck, I remember being in a Facebook group with like Jerry and Raptor, and we were trying to figure out how do you make this an actual Modern deck. And we got kind of close and then gave up. And then people continued the work, and Summer Bloom came in, and eventually Amu-LIT became one of the best decks in the format. But in like the time since that early experimentation phase, I've drifted away. And today I ordered the entire Amu-LIT deck that I was missing in foil. Actually, I wanted to hyper incentivize myself to make sure I play it. So I'm like, I'm going to go hard. I'm not going to go soft here. So I ordered the deck today. It should arrive, I think 2 days, 3 days was the shipping time. And I plan to start playing a lot more Amu-LIT because I mean, look, I respect mastery, and obviously Edgar has shown mastery over this deck. His results are preposterous, and I like the fact that you get paid for your investment on this deck. I think that's the biggest drawing point for me, is that Modern is the most popular format in Magic. It's not going anywhere. I have to find a deck to love and embrace and just be willing to tie my fate to and adapt and really buy into. And I have flirtations with decks. Like I played a lot of Tron over the last year. I was very happy with that choice. I think it served me well. But I'm looking for the next deck to lean really hard into and find mastery of. And I think the real drawing point for Amu-LIT Titan is it feels almost like it's not skill capped. Like the more time you put into it, the more returns you get. And look, there's people understate the difficulty of Tron. Like you certainly get benefit from knowing the deck. And I watch Tron players play and make 12 mistakes in the first 3 turns of the game. And it's very obvious it's not as simple as people expect it to be, but there is a cap. It doesn't have the same level of depth, the same level of really capacity to learn that something like Amu-LIT does. So I'm in. I totally believe in this deck. I think it's a very powerful option, and I'm looking forward to just like exploring it, figuring it out, and learning all the intricacies. Because Edgar, I mean, I think it's fair that you rely on the intricacies of the deck to get you out of situations, right? That's what this deck is all about.
Oh yeah, for sure. A huge benefit is the fact that going into any match, I know the matchup better than my opponent almost 100% of the time, and your opponent's just not going to know what you have available. Even if they know all the cards in your deck, they might not necessarily know like how much mana you can make on a turn, or what sequence of cards you can play in order to get yourself out of a sticky situation. And it's definitely something that rewards you for knowing the deck so well. It's just one big toolbox, and everything works so well with each other in the deck that it almost feels like you're solving a puzzle, and that every game has a solution. And it's like you said, even to this day, I've been playing the deck almost exclusively for years, and I still feel like I'm coming across unique situations every time I play the deck and being challenged over and over again.
I'm checking some of the comments, and one on the Facebook page, one of them to the deck list I posted, your deck list, was spicy Emrakul tech. Were there any spicy specific spices in your specific list, Edgar?
Yeah, so the big change that I made for this past weekend was the inclusion of the card Emrakul in my sideboard and the card Adventurous Impulse in my main deck. And I cannot take credit for that. I forget his name. I believe his name's like F Paul's on. I shouted him out on my Twitter. He's an Argentinian streamer who's been playing a good amount of Amu-LIT on his stream, and I would tune in every once in a while, and he was tinkering with this card, and it intrigued me. It's just it's a new way for the deck to gain some consistency. Find your Azuzas more reliably, find your bounce lands or your Titans, whatever you might need in a specific situation, and the overall consistency of the deck feels like it might go up a little bit with the inclusion of this card. It's something I need to test a little bit more. My reps are pretty low, but it's definitely a card that has promise and something that performed well this past weekend. And one of the things that popped in my head as a possibility when I included this card was going back towards a more mid-range game plan with the deck after board against some of the black-green strategies and the blue-white strategies, specifically with the re-inclusion of the card Tireless Tracker, something that I haven't played recently in the deck. The fact that you have these pseudo ponders to find them, as opposed to having to pack for them, lets you play a game where you really force your opponent to react to you, and then once they do, you punish them with the Titan Chain that no deck can beat going late. And Emrakul was kind of just the top end of that, where since you now had 4 Ancient Stirrings and 3 copies of Adventurous Impulse to really dig to this one-of card, that is almost always going to win you the game when you cast it going late against these mid-range and control decks. It really felt like it was worth the inclusion.
Reading some of the troll questions in chat. It's like, Edgar, what's the optimal number of stomping grounds that you should run in Dredge? I think Morgan's asking about should he run humans at GP Atlanta? Is that dumb, Edgar? What's your take?
I don't think you're ever going to go wrong playing humans. In general, I think in Modern you're probably just better off playing with what you know, and as long as it's one of the viable archetypes and it's not being completely destroyed right now by the slightly more popular decks in the formats, like the 6% as opposed to the 3%. So if you feel comfortable playing a deck like humans or blue-white controls, so what you've been playing for a while, it's not going to be an egregious decision going in. I find that Modern is very much about the matchups and knowing the matchups better than your opponent.
Are you hitting GP Atlanta?
Yes, I will be going to GP Atlanta. I had told Keith that I would play whatever mid-range deck he would tell me I should play, because I wasn't going to have time to test for it since I'd be focusing on standard for the Pro Tour. But after this weekend, I think I might renege on that promise and probably just run back a very similar Amu-LIT list to what I was playing, because especially I can't overstate how good the Dredge matchup is, and it excites me to no end that people are playing that deck again, and I would love to farm that for an entire tournament.
I love that. I love hearing that. Derek, any chance you're going to the GP?
I probably won't be going to Atlanta. Atlanta's pretty far away from us, and since I'm not qualified for any Pro Tours ever again, I probably won't be going. But if I was playing Modern, I don't know what I would play. I still hate the format. I don't know. Maybe I should just be playing Amu-LIT, learning to count. But I just want to not play Modern if I can. I like Standard. I like coming 9th in PTQs. That's more my thing.
Brian, are you going to GP Atlanta? And our mutual friend Mike Flores actually hit me up to ask me if I was going down to GP New Jersey. I don't suppose now that you're all the way on the west that you might be flying down for that.
No, I am flying to GP New Jersey, actually. I'll be at New Jersey. I'm going to take the flight out and then go see some family up in New York afterwards. So it kind of works out. And I don't really intend on playing Atlanta, but if the circumstances line up, I don't know, maybe I'll end up going.
You just bought a foil deck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
What if I give you some crash course lessons? Will that increase your chances?
Maybe you know, I think a lot of the problem is that it's rare that I have enough time to devote to tournament prep, and I don't want to go to a tournament I'm not prepared for. So I am inclined to just opt out unless I find myself with the time to be like, okay, I finally have something that I'm super into. I think this deck is well positioned. Otherwise, I tend to be more selective with my tournament attendance this day because my focus is not necessarily on qualifying for the Pro Tour. It's just about making the best content I can on a week-to-week basis. And I think the approach is very different. Whereas like if I was solely focused on getting to the Pro Tour, then I want to lean really hard into a specific matchup and know everything I can about it. Whereas if I'm trying to make good content, I feel like I need to know a little bit about everything. And that takes up so much time getting the familiarity. It kind of leans into my prep time a little bit. But I'm going to go to New Jersey. I'll consider Atlanta if I start playing Amu-LIT and crushing it and fall in love. But I am going to Portland at the end of the year because it's very close to me, and that's a modern GP. So I certainly have some modern to play. And actually, there's a charity 4K in Seattle this weekend over at Mox Boarding House, which is modern. So I will be playing a little modern there. Probably not doing any prep for it, but you know, nothing beyond what I've already done. But still, there's some modern on my horizon. And Derek, I get your frustration with the format. I do. It's not like the purest form of Magic. There's some downsides to it, but it's the future of the game. If you saw Willie Adel, he did a survey a few weeks ago, and he recently tweeted out the results of that survey, and it was targeted about people and their preferences for both playing and viewing Magic. And the extent to which modern has surpassed standard is jaw-dropping. A lot of that comes from having bad standard recently, but I don't think you can understate the ability to invest into a deck and have it forever. And the average Magic player just loves modern. And you know, one of the flaws with Pro Tours is that they're kind of hyper focused on the entrenched, and they do need to do more to reach the average player, I believe. And that's how they become their best version of themselves. They need to appeal to a broader audience. They need to get more traction in the community. And part of that is like a higher focus on modern, probably. So whether you like it or not, I think it's the future of Magic, and it just kind of behooves you to prepare for it. And I'm not downplaying your concerns. There's things about modern I also don't like, but you got to find something you love and lean into it, I think. And that's the way you get through it.
I unfortunately agree with you, although I definitely think that the problems with standard are not like they're not worse than the problems with modern. And I think partially it's because there's not a lot of good standard content right now. I think not a lot of people are being sold on how good standard is as a format. And I think because modern is so open and so like diverse, I guess you could say, there's a lot more room for bad content to be made because there's so much more space for it. Whereas in standard, you get a couple good content creators and then you have a couple bad ones, and there's like no other space to go with it. With modern, you can write 5 articles about a deck, and if there's 100 decks, you have 500 articles. In standard, you have like 25 articles, and people write those in 3 to 4 weeks, and the Pro Tour happens. To me, like I think modern is much better for coverage, much better for your average Magic player who doesn't want to invest a lot of money. Basically, everything you said, I think, is correct. But I still think that format's trash, but that's fine.
I think I didn't know you had like one of the funniest Twitch channels ever. I haven't been here for all the trolls. Like some of them are just killing me here. Like where is it? Keith has bragged about his great fucking life 216 times. It's like, who comes up with this stuff?
Listen, here in the Misplaced stream, we got quite the rowdy crew. We got some weird stuff going on that you might not want to know about, but it's here.
I drop in usually during the afternoon or on a break or something, and it's like, okay, it's pretty PG. And now I'm just seeing all the great stuff coming in, and I didn't throw shit at Keith, and I hope Edgar backs me up. I picked Keith to win, and then all these people are like, he's probably playing a shitty deck. Those are people who were telling me that he wasn't likely to win. So no shade from me. Let's just clarify that. Brian, before you drop out, we're gonna just wanted your quick take because we didn't talk about it on the show on the new just the banning of just the getting rid of the PPTQ system. Just like a quick word or two, if you feel anything, if you care at all.
Thank God. I can sum it up like that. The PPTQ system was awful. Again, referencing Willie Adel's tweet, the survey results showed something like 10% of all players were satisfied with the PPTQ system, and like 70% of all players despised it. look, old PTQs had problems as well, but at least when the day ended, there was a possibility you were on the Pro Tour, and that was infinitely preferable to me. I'm excited to see what the system looks like going forward. PPTQs were an abject disaster, and I played very few of them, but I am still thrilled I'll never have to play one again because they were not fun. And anything would be better than that system, I'm pretty sure.
So you're cool with rolling back to like this giant opens where where one player gets to make it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's optimal, but if you gave me a choice between PPTQs or that, I would take that. I'm hopeful that something better comes along, and there's, be it scaling based on PTQ size, or if it becomes more associated with, I mean, even if it was just like PPTQs or PTQs are gone, except for Magic Online, which I think is an important part of the program. PTQs are gone, and you can only qualify through GPs, but GP invites extended further down. Like, I'm fine with that too. Just anything but what was happening is preferable to me. Whatever they want to do, I'm on board with. And if it's just reversion to the old system, that's still better, even if it's not optimal. So I'll take what I can get right now.
I just want to clarify for my sake and curiosity, is it just because some local stores give miserable play experiences?
That's a huge part of it. There's also just like, you can, if you didn't win, your day was a complete waste. You're walking out with like 8 packs of Magic cards, which is completely irrelevant. If you did win, you haven't actually achieved anything yet. You just get to go to another tournament, and you can argue that that's like a PTQ win as well. You just get to go to the Pro Tour, but the Pro Tour is special. We know that. And our PTQ was not special. They didn't feel special. You had to pay entry fees to play our PTQs. Like, there was just nothing good about our PTQs. They were very silly. They were also just like these hives of hubris. It was unbelievable when I'd walk into an RPTQ and just like the disdain people had for other RPTQ competitors. It was not a pleasant environment whatsoever. And also, I've talked a bunch about the social aspects of the PTQ scene. Look, I'm not signing up for that at this point in my life, but going back 10 years ago when I was heavily invested in the PTQ scene, that meant a lot to me. It's where I met some of my best friends in Magic. So many great players I came to know over the year, playing against people like Siggy or Matt Costa, or just everyone in the Northeast who was like, go on to become incredible players. You played with them. Mike Flores, sure. 20 years ago. Let's not say 10 years ago. But yeah, all these incredible like people and personalities who you had the chance to play with on a regular basis, and you got to know and became friends with. And that was a big part of my Magic experience for years. And that's been missing from Magic for me. And part of that is me getting older, but part of it is also just like, this was a system that bred camaraderie, and there's nothing to replace that right now. And I hope something replaces it that gets back to that feeling of like, this is my community. These are the people I know. There was like a real pride in regional Magic, it felt like, which, I mean, maybe you guys have it to some extent with Canadian Magic, but I think it's missing currently in US Magic. There's no more regional pride. And, I'm always a little hesitant about things that border on nationalistic pride. Those type of definitions don't always do us the best benefit, but it was nice to see guys from your local community succeed, and you knew the PTQ winner every time, and you said, oh good, that person's back on the Pro Tour. The current system doesn't seem to engender the same kind of feelings. So I hope we get a suitable replacement that gets back to some of that kind of stuff.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Brian. You're always welcome. This is your original home. Never forget it. And come back anytime, my man.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
All righty. That was Brian Gottlieb from the Game Podcast and former host of many of the shows that I've started. And he's been killing it content-wise on writing for SUG, and him and Jerry are killing the podcast game, especially if you're a competitive player and you're looking for a podcast. That's the #1 podcast to go to that I recommend. There's other that are coming, that are following their footsteps, but they're the ones that are crushing it. Edgar, any opinions on them just like scrapping the pre-TQ season, stuff like that? I don't know how much you've had to play that, being such a badass.
Oh, I had to play it a good amount. I only recently got on a decent train. I'm not sure. I feel like my opinion is pretty different than most, and I think part of that is the fact that I started playing competitive Magic a lot later than a lot of these people, so I didn't have to slog through or play that many of the old school PTQs. But the ones I did play felt pretty miserable. I played a couple really large ones where I ran deep and then ended up getting almost nothing out of my entire day, and they felt like an overall pretty bad experience. And my overall PPTQ experience felt like it wasn't that bad, but again, I played the PPTQs early in their inception. But I felt like for the overall grinder, for the like mid to high level player in the area, the PPTQ system was good for qualifying. Maybe the tournaments themselves weren't that good, but it was. I felt it was easier for a person to qualify because you kind of just played more Swiss rounds, right? It was a kind of like a lower variance system. But I think that there were problems, and if they get rid of it and find something better, I think that would be good for the game. I just hoping that it's not go back to the old system, because in my opinion, the old system was worse than what we just recently had.
All right. Derek, any takes on that? Nope, no takes. Welcome, Final Nub, to the show. What's up, my man? Grishel brand expert? Or are you still Grishel branding?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Actually, it seems like I missed the modern portion there, but I'm actually planning to abandon the Dark Arts of Griselbrand for try to hide from the crimes that Griselbrand didn't commit, aka Dredge. But that's still TBD. I was actually looking at Amu-LIT or Dredge myself for Portland, but that's to be seen here.
So I mean, I just know you from top fouring. I think it was top four at GP Toronto with the deck.
Yeah.
So do you has these OP changes changed much for you yourself?
Yeah, I may have some different perspectives here. I myself started. It's almost been 2 years actually. So my perspective on organized play and how I found it so far might be a bit different. I know a lot of my friends here that I made that have been grinding for years and years detested the PPTQ into the RPTQ system. I kind of personally enjoyed it because, one, it gives me an outlet to competitive play that I can't get online because, there's a certain charm to just the social interaction and, playing in paper that I kind of liked. And two, it got me to go to local stores that I never knew existed or I otherwise wouldn't. And, I've been to some pretty crappy stores, but I also found out some hidden gems that's not in the suburbs that I would have never gone to. So in that regard, and also meeting the local players from those suburban areas as well. So in that regard, I kind of find it a kind of a pity for that system to be gone. However, I am kind of looking forward to the system that they have announced, where there are open events, open qualifying events, as well as some sort of like a loyalty or a system that rewards continued excellence. Something that may have to do with like planeswalker points or something else. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the change, but I did like certain aspects of it.
Sweet. We'll have you like give your thoughts on Modern since a lot of people consider you one of the pioneers, well, of course, of the Grishel brand deck. So before we turn to standard and wrap up the show, give us some quick takes on what you plan to be bringing to Modern besides more detail outside of Dredge and etc. What are you thinking? What is Final Nub thinking?
Look, when Guilds of Ravnica was spoiled, I was very, very ecstatic about one particular card, and that was Discovery Dispersal. And the red-black version of the deck was sorely missing the third set of cantrip / enabler beyond, Faithless Looting and even Night's Whisper. And so Discovery is 1 black for Surveil 2, then draw 1 card. And that kind of fit perfectly in the deck, as well as enabling you to forego Night's Whisper, where the life loss is very big. And that and Doom Whisperer, I think, which I was kind of thinking that would be a very good option in the sideboard for fighting, mid-range and control matchups. So I was very eager to test out these two cards, but the last 2 weeks, when after Guilds of Ravnica have been online and legal, I've been running into a bunch of graveyard hate as Dredge is becoming a real deck again. And Creep and Chill, I've tried it. It's very, very good. And I think it's time to start packing 4 ley lines plus again. Just anecdotally, in the last Modern Challenge, I was facing Elves, and they were playing Leyline of the Void. Like, that's unheard of. And that was like the moment when I'm just like, okay, maybe it's time to hide and bide my time until graveyard decks are good again, because Dredge has that effect, and Affinity has that effect as well, right? It's a cycle. So I do think green black or Jun specifically is pretty good here. The trophy obviously frees up a lot of sideboard space, and it allows you to streamline your sideboard into a very powerful 75. I kind of want to try it with the Experimental Frenzy instead of the Planeswalker package for grindy matchups, but that's to be seen as to how good it is. Dredge, I think, is excellent here. Creeping Chill has added so much velocity, and it lets you grind as well. So I think Dredge is going to be very good. I was actually asking Edgar about Amu-LIT this morning here. I do understand that the learning curve is pretty high, but look, if there's a bunch of mid-range and decks that dirtle, I think a deck like Amu-LIT Titan can be very good. I really wanted to play Burn, and me and my friends have been thinking that Burn has been well-positioned for the last 2 months, actually, but I think Dredge and Creeping Chill is going to put an end to that, unfortunately. So all in all, I think if someone told me that humans and spirits were going to decline, I would have been happy to continue to run back Gristlebrand, but I think the metagame is very hostile right now. And as of now, for GP Portland, I'm off that deck. I gotta try some new exciting tech. Maybe it's Amu-LIT, maybe it's Dredge, maybe it's this new Steamkin / Arclight Phoenix deck that looks pretty busted. But I'm still in my exploring phase.
What's with Derek's eyes? All right, well, Derek, let's shift to standard as we wrap up the show. What have you been playing? What do you recommend people play? Let's go.
Well, I gotta move everything around here. I've been playing like only green black, and I think green black is just the best deck, not close. I just want to make sure I'm dropping a lot of frames. Can everybody still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of green black. I've probably gone through like 20 different iterations in the past 2 weeks. All the deck lists are on my Twitter. I've been in and out of playing different decks and stuff. And I think that black-green is probably the best deck in the format currently. That's where I'm at. There's not a whole lot else that's really piqued my interest. Like, I've played a bit of mono red, and I tried it to fairy deck very briefly, but I found both of those did not work very well. And yeah, I think black green just has the best color combination, and I think that if you're playing any other colors, you probably have to be pretty lucky to be consistent if you're not playing with high power. So I think like cards like Teferi are high power. Cards like Frenzy are very high power. But I think that the rest of the cards in those decks like don't really pull the weight of the rest of the cards in those decks, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think black green is just one of the better decks in the format.
Final nub. Have you been messing around with standard?
I'm not normally a standard guy, but Guilds of Ravnica standard has been very fun, such that the first 2 weeks of Guilds, I've actually been doing 100% standard rather than modern, which is kind of weird to say. And Derek, I'd be curious to hear what you think about this. But I've had a lot of success with red in the first 2 weeks here. First week, I spent a lot of time optimizing the aggro red deck, and I had a lot of success beating most decks, including green-black, but that was before they adopted Wild Growth Walker, which was unbeatable in my eyes. In the PTQ, the first PTQ, I was 6-0 going into round 7, and then I faced the Demanding Dragon Buzzsaw, and I proceeded to lose 3 win-and-ends, which was kind of shitty, but whatever. So I kind of moved on to the bigger red treasure red archetype, and I found it really good. And I was finding that the baby red was losing a lot to the Tune green black decks, as well as the green white and the Boros Angels archetypes that go slightly bigger, have definitely Clarion, and just generally able to compete well with your axis. So I started playing things like Karn, Scion of Urza, a bunch of Siege Gang commanders, maximize Frenzy with Treasure Map, and had a lot of success with that actually, and including with against Green Black with Wild Growth Walkers. And I was 3-1 in this week's PTQ, but I was double queuing, and unfortunately I hit the drop button on the wrong event. So that was the worst punt I've had in my Magic career so far, but let's not talk about that. But anyways, I've seen your stream before. I know you like the green black archetype a bunch. Like, what do you think about its rep matchup?
I think you hit it pretty much on the head. The red matchup is real easy when I have Wild Growth Walker in my deck, and the matchup is pretty difficult when I don't have Wild Growth Walker in my deck. And by difficult, I mean like 45-55, maybe for red's favor. I don't think it's like significantly in red's favor. I think that the red deck, like I hinted at before, is just not very powerful, other than the card Experimental Frenzy and maybe Rekindling Phoenix, simply because every other card in the deck just kind of sucks and is high synergy. And if you can break up the synergy or even gain a couple life here or there, the red deck just sort of falls on its face and needs something to push it forward. And there's no like staying power like Chandra in the old one, in the old red deck, and there's no like really good card like Glorybringer to put you over the top, in my opinion. I played green black in the PTQ this weekend and finished 9th. I was X2. There's one X2 that made it. I think I punted around, but I also lost to red once and then beat it once. I think the one time I lost, I kept a sketchy one, and the other time I won, I just rolled them. Like, it wasn't close. That's what I found with the red matchups, is that you either don't have a chance or you just roll them and there's no in between. As for the go big strategy, I usually find that if you're bringing in cards like Siege Gang Commander, you're just weaker to other red decks, and same with Treasure Map. And because you just have all these clunky cards in your deck that don't really accomplish anything. So unless you like actually have a good end game plan, it's very hard for me to believe that like that plan is good enough. Like you have like very powerful, more powerful spells, but they're not like beating the other powerful spells in the format still, if that makes sense. But that's just my viewpoint from the black-green side. Maybe right. From a smaller red deck side, the white-red deck is harder to beat. But from the black-red side, it's makes it easier for me because you're not as concentrated trying to kill me as quickly.
No, I think that's a great point here. And your comment about the smaller red matchup is on point here. I kept getting steamrolled, and I've tried anything from Direfleet Daredevil to Diamond Mirror. And I think Diamond Mirror is horrible, by the way. I think red mirrors are all about, well, mostly about board positioning rather than incremental life gain. I tried Fountain of Renewal. That kind of worked okay, but it's such a mopey card. I'm not sure if I ever want to register that again. I'm really thinking though, all the buzz on Twitter and like among the pro players, I think we might be seeing Pro Tour Atlanta as a Pro Tour Golgari, where a very large chunk of the pros are going to be playing Golgari or a decks to beat Golgari. Like Do you guys think that's a reasonable expectation?
There is no deck that consistently beats black green in the format currently. The only problem with black green right now is that there's about 4 or 5 different ways to build the deck, and most people are just like playing random versions that they think is better. And I think the only reason that black green would be losing is because people aren't playing a good concentrated deck yet, and that's because no pro or no pro tour has come out with the best black green version. Because most people are just out here trying to net deck and build whatever deck they think that other people think is good. I think anybody who says they have a deck that consistently beats black green is just wrong or delusional in what they think the matchup is. And then there's also like 4 different ways or 5 different ways to build the deck. So to me, if you say you beat black green consistently, you might beat one version, but you probably don't beat the second or third version, or you might beat the first 2 versions, but you don't beat the third and fourth version. It's like it's sort of complicated because the format is, I want to say like 50% black green, but of those black green decks, there's like 4 different builds of it or 5 different builds of it. So I don't know. I just think that black green is like red black of the old format, not as powerful, but the deck of the format. Personally, I like that, but there's at least 7 different builds of black green, maybe 20.
Wow.
People say it might be awkward if I ask Edgar his thoughts on standard. It's not gonna be awkward. Just gotta ask him like his preparation, his team, how he's gonna prepare for the tournament. Yeah, and looks like we're back on YouTube because viewers are cropping up. Sadly, unfortunately, we're gonna wrap up the show with this question. Edgar, what's your prep gonna be looking like?
Well, I'm prepping with teamfacegames.com. Can't go into too many details, but I can't say I disagree with much of what these guys are saying. What I will say, though, is that I think that Derek is being his usual hyperbolic self and claiming the sky is falling a mere week and a half into the format and that we're going to be playing nothing but black-green mirrors for the next year. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that someone's going to figure it out and the metagame's going to evolve, and maybe I'm just being hopeful, but I don't think it's going to be a sea of black-green mirrors, and who knows, maybe we'll be the team to figure that out, and maybe we already have.
If we're allowed to bet on the outcome of Magic matches, which we're not,
we can't.
We're not allowed to do that.
Oh God!
If we could, would you bet on it?
Oh, are you trying to like set a line for like number black-green decks in the top 8 of the Pro Tour or something like that?
I'm saying like maybe. Oh, am I muted again? Oh my gosh. All right, maybe. Like, how many hugs would you give me if I said there was 4 more black greens in the top 8?
I think it's a little early to say something like that.
No. They have to be good hugs too. How many?
I'd be willing to give 10 hugs.
10 hugs.
10 hugs.
10 hugs. All right, we're not betting on this, but if we could.
I think that there are a lot of really powerful cards in the new set and a lot of really powerful cards in the sets prior that were being suppressed by the power of the gods in Amonkhet and the energy cards in Kaladesh block that people are overlooking even to this day. I think it's pretty early in the format to say that the sky is falling and we're going to be doing nothing but black green mirrors, but only time will tell. I've been wrong in the past. You've been wrong in the past. Who knows who it will be this time?
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing.
Did you just say I've been wrong in the past? You've been wrong in the past. You make it seem like you're also wrong sometimes because you said you were wrong first. Who knows who it'll be this time? Well, statistically, is that what you're doing here?
Could be anything.
Could be anyone. Could be a boat. Could be 10 hugs.
You're muted, Car.
Yeah, KYT, you're muted.
I'm the one that's the noob. John, to wrap things up, what do you think as someone that's actually been working in the dojo, underground dojo, trying to find these like underplayed cards? Is there hope in your underground testing?
Talking to me?
For something not, yeah, for you, for something that's not green black to rise to the top.
You know, I've been secretly thinking if Nexus of Fate might be viable with all these creature dork beatdowns, but there's a lot more green black and trophy and contempt, and they're all still there, and Discord is still pretty hard to beat. I want to kind of stress test it, but I'm not convinced that it's a thing here. Otherwise, I might just go to dark side and either play green black or try it out. Or I think expansion explosion is also pretty unexplored, as well as frenzy. So you know what, I'm not gonna go to the dark side here. I'm gonna keep trying to beat the green black menace. I think there's still a lot of optimization to be done with frenzy. It may not have to be pure mono red. It can be. I've seen some cool lists with wayward sword tooth, for example. I think the deck is the card is busted in half, and I think I can I can try to break it in half as well before the format does, but who knows? I think green black is very good though, and what Derek said is pretty correct here. Like it might literally be like half of the online metagame. It's kind of annoying, but whatever.
I'm optimistic you'll break it. I'll chime in with you later to see if there's a list you can ship me. All right, thanks for coming on, John. Thanks again, Edgar. As always, hoping that you come back with a top 8 PT performance or maybe even a win. And thanks again, Derek, for holding it down the fort. So we'll see you guys next week on YouTube, hopefully, or eventually we'll stream on both. But thank you for joining us on Misplaced Ginger's Twitch. If you want to know more about our show, you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/firststrikepod, or myself, KYT Magic. We're also on Facebook under First Strike Podcast. We're also usually on the Face to Face Games YouTube page, and you can subscribe to that channel as well. Of course, subscribe to the Ginger's Twitch if you love this type of content, because he does a lot of awesome content during the whole week. And with that, this is KYT saying, and for the rest of the guys, saying see you next week, and you can download the podcast tomorrow. Ciao, guys.
Bye.